The more I read about this book and this author, the more I think that he might be a master. I read Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro in 2024. I gave it 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads, and I wrote this about it after reading. So much of this book had my mind deeply engaged in working out ideas of what's to come in a Black Mirror way. I sped through it rapidly with the seeds of philosophical implications exciting me throughout and encouraging me to learn what it was trying to say about everything. But this is not that book. The conclusion and resolution leave the reader to question whether the book is making a statement about anything in particular, because nothing finishes as intense as it starts. In itself, that's a beautiful lesson about the nature of consciousness and how we try to assign meaning to things and look for dramatic outcomes in a lifetime that is rarely as dramatic as we anticipate. Even as we progress and change, we do it slowly. In thinking of my favorite children's book of all time, there is no monster at the end of this book. It is just us and our thoughts. I love the unreliable narrator. I love how her base observations made me question my own beliefs and purpose. I was fascinated by the kaleidoscope perspective of reality when she was stressed or compromised in different ways. I was let down by how the concepts basically resolve without incident, but I think other people may be content to explore this different way of experiencing the world. I want to live in the world of this book more, but I want to learn more about its politics and society and crises. It turned out that Klara's perspective wasn't enough for me, and the world just didn't get quite to the tragic or heroic consequence I was hoping for. In some ways, it feels like a benign version of Memento. As with so many other things, it leaves us with more questions than answers, and maybe that's a good thing. I read this book really quickly, and I reflect very positively about it and its philosophical implications about what it all means. You embody this narrator, and this narrator turns out to be highly unreliable. I think I was beset by expectations of extreme dramatic consequences. And like I talk about in this review, it's a beautiful lesson to learn about the way we approach life. I said it's a beautiful lesson about the nature of consciousness, and that is something too. This first-person perspective of the unreliable narrator shows us how unreliable our first-person thoughts may be as we experience our world. I don't usually think of reading books more than once, and I have such a long TBR list. I don't plan on reading this again. But knowing what you learn at the end of this book might prompt a very interesting second reading where you evaluate Klara's perspective throughout in a completely different lens as an objective observer, as opposed to personalizing the thoughts of Klara as a narrator. Wow. Pretty big deal. I mentioned at the beginning of the review that as I learned more about Ishiguro, I am thinking that he might be a master. I think putting this book next to the things that I now have learned that he also wrote, I think is very interesting to see how he goes about his process. The one that stands out for me in particular is The Remains of the Day. I've never read The Remains of the Day, but I am aware of the movie, and I am aware of the fact that it is classic in nature. I see that he is knighted in the British Empire, Sir Kazuo Ishiguro, though he was Japanese born. I am very interested in all of the different creative places that he is developing his work and developing his stories. My thought when I came to this book is that it was simple pop fiction, and it felt like that to me as I was reading. It was quick, it was deliberate, and I think I underestimated how profound it would be. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars because of my personal experience with it. I was expecting all that drama. I was expecting something to be life-changing in what I read from it, and it wasn't. So I was let down in some ways by the ending, but that has a lot more to do with my expectations than how simply great and profound this book is. It's Klara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I read it in 2024, and I give it 3 out of 5 stars.